to the webpage on militarywomen.org, in the past, women have served as nurses on the battlefield and even disguised themselves as men to serve so they can join the military. Excuse me. Even though these contributions women made were acknowledged, Americans would not allow them to be fully integrated into the military until 1948, when President Harry Truman signed the Women's Services Integration Act. My cousin Tacoma Drummond was just promoted in March 2011 to the position of Flight Chief. She is stationed at the Joint Base Pearl Harbor Hickam Medical Clinic in Honolulu, Hawaii. She has served in the military for 15 years. Throughout history, women have broken barriers to serve in the 5 branches of the military. Today I will tell you about the roles of women in the Coast Guard and the Marine Corps, the roles of women in the Navy and the Air Force, and the roles of women in the Army. Now let's start with the roles of women in the Coast Guard and the Marine Corps. According to the webpage Statistics on Women in the Military in the U.S. Department of Defense, there are 5,552 active duty women in the Coast Guard. The women in the Coast Guard are in leadership roles in command on coastal boarding ships as commanders-in-chiefs, admirals, captains, and they are in other roles as pilots and anti-sub-warfare officers. In the past, during World War II, 11,000 women served as spars in positions as storekeepers, yeomen, and corpsmen. Today, there are 15,257 active duty women in the military corps. They're in leadership roles as lieutenant generals, master sergeants, and in other roles as pilots, parachute riggers, mechanics, ammunition technicians, and heavy truck drivers. During World War I, 305 women in the reserve served as marinettes in positions of clerical workers and recruiters. Now you know a little bit about the women in the Coast Guard and the Marine Corps. Let's talk about the Navy and the Air Force. Today there are 52,546 active duty women in the Navy. Their leadership roles as carrier strike commanders, captains, and rear admirals, and in other roles as helicopter and jet pilots. As of April 2011, women are now allowed to serve in Ohio-class submarines. During World War I, women served in the Nurse Corps as nurses. And then in World War II, 80,000 women served in positions as switchboard operators and translators. Today, there are 64,275 active duty women in the Air Force. Today, they are in leadership roles as flight chiefs, brigadier generals, and lieutenant generals. They serve in other roles as pilots, civil engineers, and mechanics. During World War II, 1,078 women served as pilots and WASP in non-combatant roles, flying in operational flights to military bases and transporting cargo. Now you know a little bit about the women in the Navy and the Air Force. Let's talk about the women in the Army. Today there are 76,193 active duty women in today's Army, in leadership roles as generals, base commanders, and other roles as fighter pilots, medics, and logistic officers. However, women are still not allowed to serve in combat units in the Army. During World War II, women served as WOCs and as volunteers to build planes, operate radio communications, analyze intelligence, and train. And this is the first time women were trained as pilots to serve in the war. We can see that women have broken the 5 barriers in the 5 branches of the military. Let's review the different roles of the women of the past and present. Today, I told you about the roles of the women in the 5 branches of the military, which is the Coast Guard, the Marine Corps, the Navy, the Air Force, and the Army. Women today play a crucial role in the 5 branches of the military across the world, and their sacrifices in this noble effort underscore their dedication to serving this country. Thank you for your time.